Welcome to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And I am very happy to be here with you today, but a little disappointed thanks to the rain. We were supposed to be downtown at Loring Park, at Pride, where Twin Cities AM 950 is a big supporter of Pride and has a big booth there. And we were going to be broadcasting live, but there was a big thunderstorm for those who are in the Twin Cities or not in the Twin Cities. We got rained out at our booth and pivoted like all pros do. Thank you to my two guests, my two clients here today who were just lovely and saying, no problem, we'll meet at the studio instead. So today I have a father-son duo, John and Penn, who have been clients of mine, continued clients of mine. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you.
And this is Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston, but it stems from my organizing business, Space by Space Organizing, which is a Twin Cities-based home organizing business. And I am very proud to be on this network that is the progressive voice of Minnesota, and among other very open-minded, forward-thinking, help move the lever on inclusivity and different initiatives that help us all feel, proud to be Minnesotans. But specifically, Pride is for the community that is. I am an ally of the Pride, the LGBTQ community, and a supporter of love in Minneapolis and beyond. And today we're celebrating that, especially in Minneapolis. And Penn, you identify as a member of the community. So, what does Pride mean for you? And while we weren't able to do this together, I got a beautiful picture of you all yesterday at Pride for 6 hours. So, maybe since we can't be there and having the energy of the festival in our show, we can bring some energy of yesterday's festival to our show. So, tell me about what Pride means to you and what people can expect when they do go.
All right, so I'm Penn. I am a non-binary trans masc and use he, him. I've been to Pride before down at Loring Park, and we went on the Saturday that wasn't as busy, so it was more easier to do it. And my favorite part is just seeing all the different type of community members. It's I live in more of the suburbs, so I don't see as many people, usually just in bougie homes. But seeing so many queer community members and seeing them so happy, especially older ones, that makes me so happy to see older queer members being able to express themselves when they couldn't before. So like there's awesome drag shows, there's awesome live music. One of my favorite things is going to booths of people who make their like own homemade stuff and always trying to support the queer community there because we all gotta help out in giving some money to them. Um, but yeah, it's so awesome seeing everyone there, seeing everyone happy and just celebrating existing.
Yeah, existing and thriving and
Hmm.
really finding community among other people. It's so important to feel that sense of belonging
Hmm.
and, right where you live, to be able to have your own you know festival and parade, and just be able to support each other and be supported by people who are allies and friends and all across the board. But John, you are one of the most supportive parents I've ever come across, and you went yesterday. That's not your first time?
It was not my first time.
Yeah.
So I've been with a couple of the members of my family, I think a few times before. And so I also identify as an ally, and I am a parent of a rainbow family, uh, and supportive of all of them. And it's been a constant learning and adjusting and supporting, over my life, my three wonderful children. And Penn is my eldest. I've been to Pride most often with Penn. My middle child also went to Pride last year, I think it was, with us, and we just had this glorious gathering of what were we, like 10 of us there, I think, and all identifying in different ways, and it really was, a celebration. And I just love the range of people being who they are and celebrating who they are.
Mhm.
And and I work with color as my job, and just all the glorious literal and metaphorical rainbows at Pride. It just brings me joy. Just walking around makes me happy at Pride,
Mhm.
and the vibe was there in full force yesterday.
Yeah, everybody talks about the energy, just
Yeah,
total amazing energy, whether it is for somebody who identifies as any members of the community and craves that feeling of being among others who are accepting and open and being who they are. But then I think also people who are in more the cis world or you know, they've not had a feeling of exclusion for who they are, but love being able to go and be part of this celebration of everybody getting to be who they are. And we want it to be, every day that you can show up that way, but it is good to have these things to look forward to. And this, AM 950 put a lot of effort into their booth and into the planning to be able to do live shows there and really be in the community. So I think it's important that we give some love even though we aren't among the other tents and the other the pride goers of the weekend. So we'll have to do it another time, but here we are in our regular studio and we are recording a show. So Space by Space organizing is all about helping people make sense of stuff, help them get out of their own way in life, tackle every project as it is, differently unique to each client. And John, you reached out to me about maybe 2 months ago now. And tell me what made you reach out to me
yeah.
and how that will go down from there.
So we had an impending change coming to our family in that Penn's significant other, who they've been with for over 10 years now.
There's non-binary and named Saf, and they use they them.
There you go. Saf was this awesome significant other living in Seattle, was going to come live with us. And the plan was to move the living space for Penn downstairs, where they could be with Saf and have more space than their very small bedroom upstairs. And the challenge for me was the downstairs had moved into an area where that was the dumping ground of various cleanouts and organizing things upstairs, and it wasn't a great living space. And we really didn't want to move a new person in to an immediate downer space full of clutter. And so my goal was I needed to help transform this downstairs, and I just didn't have the ability to do it myself, or the time, the spoons, the energy to be able to do that. So I asked my network who could help, and in particular who could be sensitive to queer, autistic, neuro fascinating, interesting people. And my network said, you need to call Colleen. I think she'd be great for this. And I set up an appointment and I did a follow up call. And Colleen looked at my address and said, actually, could I be there in 20 minutes and see what we're dealing with? And she got in her car and came down. And from there, we got together a plan. And we've had, I think, 4 sessions now of transformation. And we're not done yet, but the first 3 sessions really enabled having a welcoming space for staff to come live with us and for Penn to move downstairs and start building a home in the lower part of our house.
I remember this first phone call because you came in through the website, through our form. You went in and you did it correctly. You filled out the form. Um, I think I scheduled a time to chat with you, and I called you as planned. And I'm like trying to wrap my head around what you've got going on because you're explaining the situation, and bonus kid is coming, and we want it to be inviting. The basement's not working. I'm like, I think I just need to wrap my head around this in person. And so I plugged your address in my phone. I had the time right then. I'm like, I'll be right there. Is that okay? You were as open. I mean, most people would be like, no, I want to clean up. But the fun thing about a consult with me is that you don't clean up. Like, I have to see it as it is, because if you clean up, I don't know what I'm walking into. It would have been difficult to clean up this situation too quick. But you were so open to, yeah, sure. And that's been you this whole time, John. It's just this like, I want to do right by my kids. I want to do right by my wife. I want to do right by my family. I want this space to work for all of us. You know, you took on that house at a very different point of life. And now you've put a lot of pressure on it and you want to stay in it together, but this isn't working. And so I come to this consult and it was just it was overwhelming. There was a lot and I call it a dumping ground, but I what I like to say sometimes with people is like you and everyone else because we often are in our own worlds and we're like I'm the only one who has how have I let it get this way? How have I let it get this way? How am I not able to do this myself? We all put it on ourselves, but it's like you and everyone else. Like you are not the only person who has a dumping ground in their house. And sometimes they come in the form of drawers or closets or rooms or entire basements. Like I moved into my parents' home later in life and moved into the basement and it took a lot of effort to get the basement because a lot of times too if kids come and go from the house I was seeing as an adult in my 30s, the things that I had left behind for my parents in my 20s. Every move I made, if I didn't take something with me, it didn't get donated or redistributed at the time. It got dumped in my parents' basement. So, and as a lot of people have toys and things that, we age out of as we're raising kids, those things don't just unless you're really diligent about getting things out of the house, which some people are, um, it just it just doesn't go anywhere and then it compiles. So that's what I saw as this basement was like a space where everybody had just written off as a space in the house. So then you're putting pressure on just the top house for everybody. And then the basement's no longer of use, but whose project is it to tackle? So, Penn, from your point of view, from that first part of this, and so 3 days we were in the basement, Alicia, myself, and you for the most part, John, and then Penn, you kind of came in more and more along the way, and now we're in your space and it's you, but focusing on that basement, like what was your feeling about it, about your feeling about welcoming staff to it as it was before we came along? The process of clearing it, having your dad ask for it, like, what all went into it from your point of view?
Well, because my room is so tiny, we have tried to clean this out before, and that has just made it have bins of stuff just sitting in the basement. And of course, I put bins of stuff, and that includes art supplies and stuff. But then I want to do art, so then I would buy more stuff, and it would just be a compounding loop of that things. So it was super hard to try and get through it all myself. Whenever you have your own stuff, it's like it's such a big hurdle to go through because it's just so many mental blocks for it. But yeah, I waited until you guys had a much more because it was a lot of my stuff, but then just a lot of clothes and stuff because
Yep.
we just hard to keep up with it all. And the only time you really go downstairs is to see the laundry room, so that's kind of how it started to work. Um, but then once you got more stuff clear, and I could help sort stuff as well, and you could like say yes or no and stuff. And Alicia was super helpful. I loved her a lot. How she could take all my things and put them in their own little categories because I really like that type of stuff, having it all organized in sections where I can go through them. And as you said, you can shop for your own things, right? You can see all the stuff that I
Yes.
got, and I'm like, oh, I don't need to buy more of that. I don't need to buy more of this for a while, and I have all this stuff I can use now. Which is it's just having it all allocated in one area makes it so much easier to handle by your not by yourself because you guys are helping, but handle as being present there.
I am beaming right now because so if anyone's watching on my face is not to the camera that we have in this little studio, but it means so much to me to hear you share that, but also say some of the things I say, like shop your own closet, shop your own stuff. So many times, you and everybody else, oh, I want to paint. It's a lot easier to go and buy $10, $20 worth of new paints. The thing that we want to buy is less money than the work to go find the paints, to go sort through
Exactly.
the thing. And often when we go to sort for the thing or find the thing, we get distracted.
Exactly.
Neurospice likes to do that to us too. So it's like, then it's frustrating when you get derailed on your way. I was sharing that I have a step stool in every room that I might need a step stool in. And they're little ones and big ones. Some are just those little like $8.99 from Home Goods, one step, because that's all I need for where I am. But if I don't have a step stool there and I need to go grab it 5 rooms away, or sometimes 5 steps away, I'll see something else along the way and want to work on that. When it is our own house, we can get distracted by things. So I love that you picked up on that, and you did. You became, kind of, we're doing this for you, but you were further away from the effort. And it was like this visual that allowed us to see your buy in to what we were doing.
Mhm.
That was really rewarding for Alicia and myself. And I think for you too,
Yeah, no,
John.
exactly. I mean, part of the block for me was I didn't have the right knowledge to know what to do with all of Penn's things. Of There was the fear of I was going to throw things away or give things away, and I was going to pick the wrong thing. And then Penn was going to say that was really important to me, and you got rid of it. So I think
That was mine, Dad.
day one was huge because we got through a lot of clothes and
We're
things.
we're gonna take a quick break live here. We'll be right back and we'll keep going on
Excellent.
all the things we got through. Welcome back to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston. This is our first time ever recording the show live. So if anybody's like, oh, that sounds a little glitchy, it's not. We're perfect. But we are getting used to this whole end on this exact spot, start on this exact spot. And I am with two lovely clients, father son duo. We've got John and Penn. And not in the studio is a very important person, staff, who is Penn's partner and really inspired this whole effort. So, if you were here for the last segment, we talked about how John reached out and said, I got a kid moving down to the basement. The basement's been the dumping ground. I need help. I don't know where to start. I'm ready. I'm here for this. And I'm like, who is this energetic father? I drove to his house. I see the house. I'm like, we got this. It's going to take a lot, but we got this. So, John, give just kind of that, like, if you were telling someone for the first time what we did in the basement in the course of a few weeks,
Yeah.
and really your role within it too.
Yeah, and my role changed over the three first visits, and in a good way. In that I was there the entire time. My back felt it the next day.
We put you in a chair the second
Yeah, we
time.
did. We did. We learned. We learned and adapted. But the things that happened on the first day was we went through a lot of clothes, and we kind of did a triaging of the space and made it so it wasn't as intimidating. Actually, made a corridor,
Hmm.
and to be able to get there, and started clearing some things. And it went from I have no idea how to start this and how to and how to tackle it, and I'm scared to throw away something that shouldn't be, to okay, this is workable. And gradually over the next two, involving Penn more in the process. And just each day, at the end of the day, we all felt good about where we were at the stopping point. And I think that was important. There was just encouragement to do the next week, and then encouragement to do the next week. And we're not done yet, but I'm encouraged and I'm confident that the end result is going to be great. Whenever that is, however that is, we have a working process, and we'll keep doing that until the entire bottom floor is transformed, and then we move for the rest of the house.
And we have moved upstairs, but we also, in moving upstairs, started downstairs by saying, okay, where's this at now? It's been a month or at least a few weeks since I was there before I lose track of time. But we did do 3 weeks in a row, 6-hour days, three of us, whether it was John in the lead or Penn. Sometimes there was four, sometimes there was two with just Alicia and myself. But so it took a lot of time, and it still takes more time, but it was going through so many items. There was quite a bit of trash, quite a bit of donate. We did do a little bit of reselling. Um, but it was a lot of tackling. And I think from my perspective of you, John, is you are just such a epitome of loving parent and of just this want to make space for my kids to be who they are.
Mhm.
Want to support them in having that space, within the limited space within the square footage of a house. But then also being like, willing to know this is not my strong suit. Like I think I need support and reaching out for the support and then, graciously accepting it and investing in it. But I had also seen you are very pragmatic. You had bought shelves, you had these very heavy duty shelves in the garage that had casters on them.
Mhm.
You had many containers, many good plastic bins with the clasps. We got rid of a lot of the containers that had been broken or were opaque and you couldn't see in them. A lot of times for people, if you can't see what's inside and it's deep, especially, you're never going to reaccess that stuff. It's the clear bins are really great for a lot of people. For some people who don't want to see what they have and just put it away and put a label on it, the non-clear bins, but you had bought so many things that could be helpful. So I'm like, we don't need to bring new things. We just need to use these. And I remember that first day knowing we need to get one of these shelves rolled in. Like we need to start bringing some orders. So it switched at one point was okay, Alicia, you're going to start making better sense of the stuff that's staying behind. And John and I are going to keep going through the stuff that goes, but there was a critical mass of stuff that was staying behind. And then we invited Penn in at the end of the day. And it was kind of like, I don't know, because this is really overwhelming and maybe not, but you came down and my impression from being the hustler through the day and getting things out and moving things around was that when you saw Alicia's attention to certain collections and certain art supplies, and not just, oh, art supplies dump. Nope. Here's the paintbrushes separate in this container. Here's this type of supply. Here's this type of bead. It was like you saw your stuff in a different way. But I also felt like you saw the whole effort in a different way. You seemed to open yourself to what was happening when you saw the end result of one day of work.
Well, yeah, I've always wanted to open up and do this stuff. It's always in the back of my mind. I want to sort it. It's just I don't have a lot of energy to do the stuff. And you said we have all these boxes and shelving and stuff. Like we got them, we wanted to do it, and we started, and we never finished it,
Mhm.
or did a little bit, and then it just got forgotten and stuff. So then having Alicia, put it all together and stuff, it's what I've always wanted it to look like. So it just
Oh,
made me feel very happy because yeah, it's hard to find stuff when they're not in the same area. And if it's all in the same area, it's like, oh, I can look through this and see what I need and what I don't. Especially because it's sad to say I'm a chronic shopper. It's hard not to in this consumerism type of society we live in. But I'm trying to not do it as much because the dopamine hits of buying, and then you got to have all your stuff. So I have definitely like want to go through it and figure out what I want, what I don't want to sell, and everything. But yeah, you're right. It made me very happy to see them all sorted very well.
it just makes me so happy to know, and Alicia is the best at meticulous. I mean, I've walked away from her and almost forgotten she was doing something, and then I come back and I'm like, "Whoa, that looks so good," or "That's alphabetized," or that, like that's so beautiful. And clients have gotten that joy from kind of a few hours without bothering Alicia,
Mhm.
and then you come around, you're like, "That's what she was doing? I forgot she was here." So that's where the fun of a team is. And 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 it was nice because I do see, like, think about that. So we took, if it was 6-hour days, largely 3 people, that's 18-hour days. I call it human hours. So 18 hours a day of pretty much we are on. Boom, boom, boom. John, you and I would talk afterward and kind of decompress. And me in my car, you in the driveway, just kind of like, okay, we got a lot done. That feels good. Here's where we're at. This is good. This is the plan moving forward. But when we were on the clock and really getting that work done, it was like boom, boom, boom. So 18 hours in a day, times that by 3 days over 3 weeks, that's 54 hours, human hours. Like, even with the best systems, with every bin, there's not enough time in a weekend. You'd have to take a week off work, and people just don't have the skills. There's family dynamic. You can get annoyed and go upstairs and do something else. It's like this dedicated energy by hiring the support to do it. But then along the way, Penn, you really became part of the basement process. I think, John, by the last time you weren't around as much.
Absolutely. And that felt great, from my point of view, just the ownership. And it was, yeah, it was a transition, and it felt good because it enabled Penn to be part of the process of transforming the space, and that felt really, really good.
And by the end of this basement space, we'll close out the basement space now and go upstairs. But at the end of the basement space, it was clear enough. And if, we show before pictures, it was a decade of a dumping ground
Hmm.
of 5 people upstairs who kind of rode off the basement, moved to different places, had different clothing in served past lives, clothing, past weights, past body type. There was some that was like, oh, I think that was like 2 sizes ago, and that's size and clothing can make it easy to just say, yeah, that goes, that stays. Um, but it was really exciting to see that space kind of clear.
Yeah.
And then we knew, okay, this had been a cement floor. There was carpeting. It had been ripped up. And there was the plan to put vinyl flooring down. And it was like, okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. One moment that was very exciting for me was it was the last Tuesday, and I called some guys who have done some great work for me, and I said, "Hey, can you be out here and give a bid on this floor?" He's like, "I can't come today, but I'll be there tomorrow." And by that Saturday, you guys had floor laid, and
Yeah.
the pictures of that, I felt so excited because, it was just a phone call for me, but knowing that, you really got that apartment, you really
Yeah.
got that basement, like, a finished element. There's still more to do, as we've said, but that felt good. What did that feel like to feel like, "Okay, this was a lot of effort, but we're seeing, we can move down here. I can invite Saf into my life down here."
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I just with and the Saf has so many much less items than me, and they're so much better at sorting stuff that I knew it would trigger them and make them not feel as good. So I really wanted it to make it perfect for them. And even though there's still more work to do, they are very optimistic and wanting to help because they like to sort and do stuff like that. It's just they're not used to the scale of how much
Yeah, the
how much
sheer
things I
scale of
have.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, it's waterproof, high quality vinyl flooring, which just makes everything feel more secure, and especially as the heavens opened up this morning with lots of rain, that is a downstairs living area and things aren't going to get ruined. I mean, the reason there was no carpet was that
There were
we did get
flooding.
water and we
Okay.
ripped it up, and we have the good vinyl flooring with the vapor barrier, and it has transformed it into a living space. But until the things on top of that floor were dealt with, I could not invite someone to come refloor it. I don't know what I would have done. I would have put it all on the garage or in the driveway. I don't know. And so just enabling that was magical. And it's the downstairs flooring is what I've always wanted it to be since I moved into the house over 20 years ago.
And and you guys picked a great color. It all just looks so nice and fresh down there. And we do have a little bit more to do, but Saf comes in, and I got to meet Saf this week while we worked in your bedroom. And what a joy of a person.
Hmm.
Like, and John texted me later, like, "You see why this is such a good bonus kid to have." I was like, "I totally get it," because they are just like positivity personified, just so encouraging throughout, so helpful. Like, Saf was kind of our Alicia with, we could give a box, "Can you do this? Can you take the trash out?" And you and I stayed in the same space for the most part, while Saf was our runner. But next time we're coming back, and Saf and Alicia are gonna work together to
Yeah.
really do more of that meticulous, which I think, Saf needed a break from the excess stuff and the decluttering. It's overwhelming, but I think that Saf will really enjoy and not need breaks doing the meticulous because that seems to be what they're
Mhm.
motivated by and really looking forward to having.
Yeah, like I'm chronic fatigue, so I can't do as much stuff. But Saf They do get tireder than a normal person, but they're very good at being like a direct, like, I'm gonna do it this time and I'm gonna do my full energy into this. And then once we're done, we're just gonna lay down on the bed for an hour and figure it out later.
Yeah. No, and I think that before we go up to your room, and we can go up to your room in our last segment, and unpack what's going on in there. But I think the the thing to speak to, and I think that if anybody is sitting there thinking, okay, taking on an organizer, do I have to be super handheld? Do I have to be super involved? I always say, like, it's not my stuff. I can't make a judgment call on your stuff. And I don't. Once I got the lay of the land, we were able to know, okay, this goes, this stays. And it was um we had the run of show, but we've never been alone in the house. And but to me, Dad John really was like, "Okay, you've got this. I'm covering the cost, but I'm going to work." Like, you gave that trust where you're like, I'm investing in this, but I'm not micromanaging, but I'm fully behind the effort." And you even this past time brought us sandwiches.
Mhm.
But you didn't even come in to announce it. You just dropped them off. Then there's me who comes in, I'm the organizer, like, I'm going to keep this ship going. And then Penn, it really upstairs, especially, your decision to make on things.
Mhm.
But Saf was this supporter, this encourager. And then also in the house is the family members who are giving us space to do this as well. So, um, we just got a less than a minute on this segment as we're live, but I'll just close it out by saying that I think knowing that you can't do it alone and being and acknowledging that and not feeling bad about that, because in this little breakdown that we're sharing about today, it is an ongoing process, multi days, leaving things at a good point to say, okay, we can walk away from this for the moment, but we're coming back. And also knowing everybody's got their own role to play. And that takes a lot of burden off of you thinking, this is all mine to make sense of. If you're like, oh no, there's going to be like four or five of us tackling this in some various way. So, anyway, as we leave things to come back to the next day of work, we leave things to come back to the next segment. So, we will be right back with Sorting Through Life on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Welcome back to Sorting Through Life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950. And I am here in the studio. We're supposed to be recording live from Pride. Unfortunately, the rain made the booth hard to be able to record from. So we are back in the studio, our happy place here. And I am very happy to be in the company of two special clients, special people. We've got Dad John, son Penn, and we are talking. This is an episode of our Behind Closed Drawers series where we really kind of invite people into the organizing process. So, right before we left, I kind of rattled off how some of the roles that we played within this scenario. So, John, you're the dad. You give me the call. You know this needs to be dealt with. You know you don't have the capacity. You are like, I got to figure this out. Talk to me about the roles from your point of view. And also, we're going to shift into the bedroom that Penn came from, which we were in this week working through. So, like, shifting roles in the process, and just kind of
Yeah.
give me some good stuff on this.
Yeah. So, part of this whole experience is, learning about myself and transforming, how I am and how I attack problems. Is my MO is to put my head down and try and fix it myself. I mean, that really is how I generally tackle things. And it takes a lot for me to delegate, and it takes a lot of trust. And me putting my head down and trying to deal with myself was how we had a basement full of clutter, because it was, okay, we're going to move these things, we're going to put the things down, and then I didn't have any more time, energy, or ability to deal with it from there. So it clearly wasn't working. So by listening to my children and by considering what works and what didn't work, I used to buy opaque boxes, now I only buy the clear ones because I listened. And just the ability to delegate, it was hard to get over that hump. But I want to say, at this point in the process, the delegation feels great, because over the 4 visits you've had, my involvement has changed from being very hands-on, very catalyzed this with the help of the organizers, to more involving Penn, and then involving Penn and staff and the ownership of it, and I get to let go of it and trust in the process and advise. And it's going to come back around when we tackle some more of my stuff. I know it will.
Yes, it will.
But me putting my head down isn't working for that either. So I just want to convey it feels really good to be able to delegate, because that is not my default way of doing it, and it has been well worth it. And I also say my wife has been very on board. She does not want to be directly involved, but is delighted with the way that it's happened and the transformations that has happened. And so we have her support, but it doesn't want to be in, dealing with it, just because her MO is to just not think about that and not put her hands in it. So it's all working really well.
I'm glad you brought up your wife, because I was going to if you didn't, because I know, and I love the texts that I get about her feedback, and that she's so happy, and that she was so happy. I think it was Mother's Day that the floor got done,
Mhm.
or right before Mother's Day, and it's like, oh my gosh, this got done, and how
Yeah.
exciting. But, a lot of times tension lives among family members without being able to claim something, or really, it's not an easy fix. Like I say, I'm not a therapist, but I'm going to fix that problem, and often home organizers feel like we are a mental health provider versus, first. Like,
Mhm.
we come in and we're going to intervene on something where there's a lot of tension. And that can kind of hinder relationships and make people feel annoyed with each other. But maybe they're not annoyed with, I'm not annoyed with you. I love you. But I'm so annoyed that you can't make sense of your stuff, and it drives me crazy and I can't handle it. But I love you, but I'm so annoyed with your stuff, and it drives me crazy. And it's like this wheel, this loop, and it's like, but and I don't have the capacity, I don't have the hours, I don't know how to do this with you. And then you try to work on it with each other, and it's like the family dynamics come out, and it's very helpful to have an outsider to those dynamics.
Yes.
Um, but it also then depersonalizes and disconnects the stuff from the person when you have someone else in the mix to say, "Can we just deal with the stuff?" Like, if there's something else going on, I'm sure it'll come up, and happy to chat, but um if we can focus on the stuff, it's amazing what you start to have space for. We'd say a lot of, like, create space for this. So, Penn, we get upstairs. Your dad sent me a text that said, Penn asks for help in his bedroom. Like, so can we put a day on? And I was like, so excited because you asked. And it was set up. I said, you know what? It's a small space. There's a lot going on. I think it'll just be me. Let's do a shorter session, 4 hours, and this is great. So I came over this week. We had session one, probably of three, but shorter. One person, well, Alicia will go to the basement with staff. I mean, um, but definitely a different situation than what was going on in the basement. Tell us about your room, what we're doing in there, what you're excited about, where the patterns are that come from that have created the room to be the room.
Yeah, so I have two younger siblings and we used to all be in one room all together. But then it was like my 13th birthday or something. They surprised me and got me my own room. And at that point, I was very happy because I had my own space. I was the oldest going through puberty and stuff. So it's much better just to be in your own space. But then, as time goes on, especially with how small my room is, and of course, having younger siblings, especially food, it's hard to leave food out outside my room because I know it'll be eaten. Like I have a freezer cage right now still because I don't want my ice cream being eaten and stuff. But so it just became a ton of piles of different foods and then some clothes and then all of my knickknacks and stuff, like collecting things. And it just, once it becomes piles, it's just so hard to deal with because then everything's falling over. You clean something and then something else collapses. And it's just, you need to do it all at once. And that is what we did. We got all the piles out of the room that first time. And just seeing the floor again after that is just a big breath of fresh air. Like the room's so small, I have to have a bunk bed just to have enough space for a computer and my shelves. Like
Yeah, we were calculating. What do we think? Like 9 by 8,
yeah,
10 by 10 max.
yeah.
So we're in less than 1,000 square feet, but probably closer to 700.
Yeah.
So it is just a small space in itself. I think that point about shared family space, and this gets into like boundaries and how we set up systems in the communal spaces of a home so that it can be, hey, I'll keep my food out here if I can trust it's mine,
Mhm.
And so, because otherwise, and this resonates especially with people going off to college, maybe they're having a new roommate for the first time that isn't a family member, um, that they don't know how to communicate with this on. I'm sure that family can still yell at each other, that was my ice cream.
Mhm.
We've all had those moments. But so I think especially when we get back into family spaces, we'll be taking into account what we've uncovered in your space of like, hey, it got problematic with food in this room because of who it belongs to and wanting to make sure that if I buy it, I get to keep it and it
Mhm.
stays mine. So then when we go into those family spaces again, where we can say, okay, how can we make sure that this space actually facilitates a better experience for everybody so that the room isn't where the food goes.
Yeah, and like we've grown up a lot too, and it's just the habits have just stayed just because of that's how it worked for the last 10 years, I guess. Because I don't know, but then like my sister has moved out, so she was the one who ate a lot of food going through puberty, and like that's fine. I was hungry at that point too, but it was like there's chips here, it's gone. There's something nice, it's gone. But it's yeah, it's finding the new routines with the new house we're set up because she's not there anymore. But now we have another guest. We have Saf. So it's figuring out how we balance this all again.
Well, and also Saf is new to this. So, and Saf is, as we have mentioned, a very loving, a very patient human. Um, but you can tell that they're a little like, I don't like this. I want
Mhm.
this to be tidier. I want the order. I look forward to the labels on bins,
Yeah.
and so that helps with a motivation to keep getting it together.
Mhm.
But then there's also, okay, we got to be sensitive to what this is imposing on their mental health.
Yeah.
If this, and they're so kind too, and so doesn't want to say something that might be hurtful,
Mhm.
probably. I mean, they haven't said this to me, but I'm just saying,
Um,
imagining you don't want to enter into a new environment and be like, oh my goodness, I'm a little bit losing my mind here. When is it going to come together? But
yeah.
they're just trusting the process and so in the process and so encouraging throughout, which is just so many partners I see are the opposite. And I have to be like, we're nice to each other while I'm here because the part of the brain that you need to make the decisions and to be excited about this shuts down when we get yelled at,
Mhm.
when we get shamed, when someone says, I can't believe you've let it get this way. Gosh, this is just ridiculous. This is so gross. This is obnoxious. I hear that
Yeah.
in many homes. And it's like, so can we just pause on that because you're not helping this. You're actually making this harder. So you've been very open and we talked earlier about those dopamine hits and I just want to touch on because you're so open and in this process like the size of your room and the amount of stuff could look like the H word.
Mhm.
So for those that don't know, hoarding. I mean, it is that tendency to keep and to keep and to, keep
Mhm.
accumulating, not remove, and there's an attachment to this stuff. I there's on the Institute for Challenging Disorganization, there's a scale. So, not everybody is you can't just label people as this is a very anti-label, You don't label people, including our tendencies of stuff. But you've been able to see your neurospice within your old room.
Yeah. It's like I am ashamed of how it got to, and I think for a lot of hoarding situations, they don't want to admit that or they don't ask for help. And it's like it's compounded over the years to the point where I can't do it all myself. We've tried to do it a few times, but then just because of just how small it is, it just keeps compounding into that. But moving all my small stuff down into the basement, which is so many more square feet now, and we have shelves and everything. It's just so much easier to figure out in
Mhm.
there than just having everything in a pile.
Talk to me a little bit about that shame because we did talk about the hoarders episodes we've seen and how it's for entertainment. And a lot of that is gripped by getting their shame on camera.
Yeah.
Aren't you so shamed about, how this has gotten? You just said you're ashamed with it. But we've had a very delightful experience doing this. So
Mhm.
talk about how you can hold space for that shame that you feel for how it got, and the ability to, to have one foot in, yep, I know it's there, we got to get through it, but one foot in the new space of like, but we are, and I like this space better, and this is going to work for us.
Yeah, it's that the so sorry, the question again?
Like about that shame aspect, because I see you identified with it,
Mhm.
and I would never want to put it on you. But I feel like you're so much more positive and looking at the forward thinking. So how are you getting yourself from the shame into I can do this?
The shame part of it is where I use that as a motivation now because I've seen the change. I have seen that it can be done and it can be done well. So being able to say, okay, if I just push through this and we get through this, I will feel a lot better afterwards. And especially for staff, I want to make it for them because they've lived in such minimal housing in comparison to me. And I've lived this my whole life. It's like, I want to make you comfortable. I want to make this happy. I want this to work.
Yeah. And
John, close it out for us here.
I'll just say, what's in it for me, overriding what's in it for me is that the space works for the whole family, and the whole family is Penn and Saf, my other son, Sean, who I haven't even mentioned, and my wife, who make the whole space work really well. And Sean is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
And so that's what's in it for me, but also just some very tangible things of there's a front room and there's a dining room table. I'm getting those back. So my front room from some of the cleaning now has some of my music stuff. I have a table that we could sit down and play a board game or eat a meal at. I focus on what's the goal
When
in
we
getting
get
over
that
there.
when we get that table done, we'll sit and plan out another episode. And
Yeah.
at the end of all of this, we'll come back and talk about the whole thing.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for being here. Thank everybody for being at Pride. There's still time to get in your car and go out and enjoy the parade and enjoy the festival. But for now, thank you for being here, sorting through life with Colleen Waterston on AM 950.
Come on, you know it's true. Work is almost bearable when the Stephanie Miller Show is on. AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis.